In this video, we want to look at the ratio or optimal ratio between chaos and order. Now, for many people, this is not an issue because they're going to an institutionalized school or job, and so the amount of order is somewhat automatic. But for people such as myself who are self-employed, who have enough income to take most of the year off, who can work 2 or 3 hours a day, it becomes a more important question in an abstract sense. What is the right amount of chaos and order? Now, I've explored a lot of extremes in my life, so I've laid in bed for a month and just seen what happened. I've gone on vacation for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and seen what happens. And there's definitely a point. For each person, it can be a little bit different. There is definitely a point at which being endlessly disordered, chaotic, and spontaneous takes its toll, becomes dissociated and ungrounded. And there's also a point where the routine and the pressure and the monotony of repeating becomes miserable. And so what's the ratio and what's the principle behind it? I'll start with what I think is a good ratio. I think that ideally, we want to create a routine, a structure of repetitive identity, repetitive thoughts, feelings, actions, words, ways of being, a routine that's above 70% established and intentional. So, keep in mind that in any moment, for example, this is part of my routine to make a video every day this week for this channel. But the thought of what I wanted to make the video about is spontaneous. What I'm saying is somewhat spontaneous. I'm not reading a script. So there's always going to be spontaneity in any activity. A good public speech, for example, you might write out the notes, practice it, read it verbatim, make some highlighted points, reference them, but then deviate and be spontaneous. Now, there's a couple of reasons why we want structure. One is for a sense of identity. And identity is simply a repeated habit of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being. If one moment you're thinking, I love cheese, and the next moment you think, I hate cheese, and the next moment you think, I don't care about cheese, you're a schizophrenic. And really the main difference between a schizophrenic and any of the rest of us is that a schizophrenic changes their position, changes their mind, without knowing why and without being able to track the migration. It's very common, for example, as one moves from a younger age to an older age, to start off more democratic, and maybe after age 60 to appreciate perhaps more Republican values. But this is a slow movement, and it's understandable. The more you've been around, the more you appreciate conservative values. It's similar with investing. When you're 20, you want to make a high return. When you're 80, you don't want your money to disappear in a crypto market crash overnight. So you have a more conservative investment. But there's a progression to that. So why a majority of order and a minority of disorder? Well, first of all, it it can vary. I find that taking up to 3 months off at a given time to be spontaneous, etc., is tremendous fun if I'm in a country that I like. But at some point, sitting on the beach, going to your absolute favorite restaurants of all time anywhere in the world becomes, it's like I want something to get my teeth in, something to challenge me. Now, the bigger reason I think, so you've got identity, some sense of who you are, that there's a continuity. Now, there's an efficiency in that routine, by the way. And you can think of it as a car that's building up speed. You can't just floor it and go to 60 miles an hour in no time. It takes, in many cars, 5 to 12 seconds to kind of get up there. If you're in a Tesla in plaid mode, it's, a couple of seconds, but it takes time to get up to speed. Now, once you're up to speed, it takes less energy. It takes less energy to stay with the present momentum. So it conserves energy to get into a rhythm, a routine, and stick with it. Anyone who does hard manual labor, for example, knows, whether it's a prison gang or whether you're, someone picking a trench for your irrigation lines, if you get into a routine with some good music, you're not going to burn out as much. And the reason is you're conserving friction loss. Because every time you change space, change gears, speed up, slow down, you'll see the loss in fuel. If you're on the highway, speeding up, slowing down, your gas mileage is going to be lower. You're going to get fewer miles to the gallon than if you're staying at a steady speed without spending a lot of energy, decelerating and accelerating. Now, one of the reasons we decelerate and accelerate is to consider what to do next, what to eat, what to wear. Now, Steve Jobs wore the same type of turtlenecks every single day, just all one type of black turtleneck. Why? Because then there's no pause at the clothes thing to say, what do I wear today? Now, in other words, he just cruises through that. That is on autopilot. There's only one shirt to wear in the cupboard, so it's obvious what you wear today, and same with the jeans. And so there's no slowing down for that. It's automatic. So anytime you don't slow down and automate something, you've got frictionless flow. You don't have to think about it. It's the same with buttons in the car. It's one of the reasons that touch screens can be so annoying is, if you used to own a Walkman, a CD Walkman or something of that nature, you felt for it, pressed the button, you knew where it was always there. It didn't change. The screen was a bit finicky that day. Bing, it always works. You press play. It doesn't say, would you like to download a software and update the user interface? No. You can use a 30-year-old cassette player today and you still works. It's amazing how complicated we've managed to get over something as simple as playing music. It was easier before. You just press play. Plays to the end of the thing and it stops. Now, do you want to auto track to the next thing and do this and skip? No, you just play. So anytime you simplify something and put it on automatic, you've got easy flow. You've also got strengthened identity. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm thinking. I know who I am, because that's how we define ourselves. Now, a little bit deeper into the equation, the conscious mind is only able to track about 5% of everything that's going on. It starts with the physical body, our physical senses, register twice as much data as we notice. So there's all these sounds going on that I didn't pay any attention to. There's all these, what's going on over there? I wasn't paying attention. So the eyes, the ears, the slight ripples in the breeze, the skin, etc., they're picking up twice as much data as we're noticing. So already we have to get rid of 50% because we don't have the bandwidth to notice it all. We could notice it all, we just don't. Because our bandwidth for effective conscious analysis is very small. And what I mean by that is you could put all of the bandwidth into analyzing how many pixels on a 4K screen are in this iris leaf. Now you can totally get into that equation. It's like how that looks about 2 inches, a 4K screen. Now is that 4K for the whole screen? Is that 4,000 pixels for the whole screen, or is that an inch? What is that? Let's look that up so you can get totally into a detail. You can get lost in the trees and miss the forest, or you can get lost in one tree and miss a much more interesting tree in the forest, because there are too many things to know, there's too many things to think about, there's too many things to feel about. So a good way of looking at the conscious analytical pattern recognizing brain is as a very deep kind of troubleshooter and analyzer for certain things. Now you definitely want it in a crisis that's novel, that's urgent. You got suddenly a strange vehicle is hurtling towards you. It shouldn't be on the sidewalk, but it is, and it shouldn't be going that fast, but it is. You absolutely want that laser new analyzing pattern thing to decide what to do of your various options in that urgent moment. What you don't want is to have your conscious mind debating whether or not sidewalks are a good idea every time you use the sidewalk. Maybe if everyone should walk in the street. What would, how much do sidewalks cost? Maybe being physical isn't such a good idea. You do not have the processing power to digest a wide spectrum of data within a wide spectrum of different paradigms from a number of different views at any given moment of time. You've got single-minded focus on one thing. So here's the most effective use of the conscious mind. Analyze and develop a routine that will work optimally 90% of the time. The best thing you can think of. Steve Jobs liked black turtlenecks. If he'd liked white flannel shirts, fine. It doesn't matter what it is. Pick your favorite foods, your favorite clothes, the way you want to have your hair done at what hairdresser in what style. The shoes you're going to repetitively reorder. Make a shopping list on Amazon or whatever that contains all the food you want, and buy now, and repeat. Put everything on repeat intelligently and thoughtfully. Read the labels of different foods and things and decide, phthalates, let's look up that. Yeah, I don't really like phthalates in my food. Okay, this type of plastic has phthalates. Okay, I'm not going to do this one. This one, okay, this one's good. Buy and repeat. Buy and repeat. I like travel. How much do I like travel? I like travel at least once a year. For what? At least 6 weeks. I want to go to 6 weeks of travel once a year. And when's the best time to go? Well, I hate all the drizzly North American winters. So let's say December, somewhere between December and December 15th, I'm going to leave for 6 weeks of travel. And how do I decide between December 1st and December 15th? Well, what's going on in my life and airfare prices at the time? And these are my 3 favorite places to go. And sometime by, November 15th, I'll pick one of them, or I'll just repeat and repeat. Now, you want to put the vast majority of your life in a repetitive program for a very important reason. You understand that you don't have the bandwidth to be efficient and flow and pause and philosophically debate every single thing in existence. I wonder, I heard so, and Jack Dorsey doesn't eat food until the evening, one meal a day. But Tim Ferriss says have, beans and heavy breakfast and stuff in the morning. Well, let's, head into the kitchen. Let's pause and, watch all the Jack Dorsey videos and watch all this. You don't have time to flow and bring everything under the microscope. So you pick a decent, your best shot with most of it. You put it in the routine. You write it down. This is, and for people that are highly flexible, such as myself, I'll often do this weekly. Like I just printed my routine for the week. And it's in a checklist form because given that I change it somewhat every week, it's not enough of a routine that I automatically remember it. What I remember is look at my checklist. And I say, okay, I've done my this, I've done my that, I'm done. Oh yeah, and then I added this in this week. And so let's do that right now before I forget. Let's do that. And then, and you put the most important. Now, what are the most important things? They're the things that are going to deliver the highest yields of sustainable well-being per unit of energy invested over time. In Stephen Covey's quadrants, there's important and not urgent, important and urgent, and not important and not urgent. So you've got these four things, and you want to focus on the urgent and important things, but also on the not important or the not urgent but important things. And you want to ignore the unimportant, non-urgent things, and discipline oneself away from urgent, non-important things. And so if you'll build a really strong routine as automatic. For example, I've automated my house. My house manager, who comes several times a week, has a very detailed list of everything that she needs to do that day and that month so that I don't ever have to do them. So that's off my list. And my virtual assistant has detailed things to do, every month, et cetera, and backup lists, long-term things that if I don't happen to delegate anything, then he can start working on those things. And the routine of the report that he sends me every single day, that's standardized. I can delete it or I can look at it, but I know what's going to be on it if I look at it. And you're doing that to free up the very limited bandwidth conscious mind to deal with novel, not urgent, but very important programs and ideas that could totally change your life if you take the time to iterate and develop them, but which you will not have bandwidth for. If you are deciding, what should I eat today? What should I wear? Should I go to the park before or after breakfast? Should I do yoga today? I kind of don't feel like doing yoga, but I'm probably not going to feel like doing it even more if I don't do it today. Well, what's my program here? Well, I guess I should think, you're scattered instantly. Whereas you have a routine, I do yoga, then I eat, then I go to the park. I wake up at this time, I take a nap at this time, I wake up at this time, I eat at this time, I do this at this time. I don't have to think about any of that. Because once you get into a routine, your body wakes up. You don't need an alarm. It's already ready. Your mind shifts into this space. Your body, your subconscious mind gets it. Now, what you're liberating yourself to do is you're liberating yourself from the mundane, and you're harnessing and making available strong processing power for that which is not urgent and highly important and not automatic. The thought will never occur to you unless you do work on that. And it'll be interrupted if you decide whether to have, apple granola or strawberry granola. That's a whole debate in and of itself. So let me know how this works out for you. A automated, conscious 70% to 90% structure, and then clear blocks of time and background programs where you pick issues, things that are really important to you. You pick issues to ruminate on and reflect on and stretch muscle on and write and think about. It can just be running constantly, and you might have a really good breakthrough in 3 days on something that would otherwise take 20 years to still miss. Take care.